you actually were at Michigan, your favorite Michigan-Ohio State game, maybe something that you watched growing up?
Yeah, I don't. I was never a particular team or a fan of either team. But when you grow up in the state of Ohio or Michigan, the last weekend of November, the game is kind of always a big deal. So I always watched them. I don't necessarily remember a specific one more than another. Maybe weren't they 1-2 one year and down in was it Ohio or whatever, and maybe that one. But you always know about it. You always watch it, and it means a hell of a lot.
Jack, you just had your offensive coordinator out here talking about the challenges you guys have gone through with sort of adapting to the new system this year. And I know it hasn't been maybe the year that you guys had hoped for. How do you feel you've done trying to learn what you've been teaching, and what sort of struggles you've kind of dealt with along the way?
Well, I can only speak from an offensive line perspective, and maybe that's a bright spot for us, is we've gotten better as the season's gone on. You know, in November, which is arguably the most important month, we're running the ball really well. We're protecting Devin pretty well. And so I'm pretty proud of how the offensive line's come together as a unit and been able to be pretty successful down the stretch. But we haven't put it all together as an offense or as a team, and that's, you know, the ultimate goal, which we haven't accomplished.
Go to the back.
Yeah, question for all three of you. If you could just briefly describe your feelings for Ohio State, whether it's, you know, I mean, obviously it's a more elevated rivalry than the other weeks of the year, so kind of what about them makes this a special game for you?
Yeah, you know, growing up in Michigan, this game's been, you know, my favorite game to watch, more so than any other sporting event, I'd say. You know, just as a big Michigan fan, playing in it, you know, is pretty cool too. It's just, it's got so much weight in a football game, you know, two programs, top-line programs. So, I mean, there's just so much going into it, so much history and just so much tension in the rivalry. It's awesome. It's, you know, it's the game you want to play in.
I think I'll say it the most diplomatic way I can. I'm not a big fan of Ohio State. I never have been. Ever since they beat Miami in the 2002 National Championship, I always disliked them. And I don't like the horseshoe, and I don't like Carmen, Ohio. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
It's the greatest rivalry in college football as far as Ohio. I mean, being an Ohio kid, I grew up kind of watching them. Never really was a fan of them. But for this game, I'm just really excited to play.
Jack, pass interference in that 2002 National Championship or not?
No, absolutely.
I agree. All right.
My Hurricanes were on the field.
Were you a Miami fan?
Late call. I was. My dad was the best man at Rob Chudzinski's wedding. They were best friends growing up, and so he was the offensive coordinator for the Canes at that time. So I grew up a Miami fan, and I didn't dislike Ohio State really until that game. And then living in Cleveland, growing up in Cleveland, I found a way to dislike them as I grew up.
Jack, kind of a follow to that. What is it like to go home to Ohio if you lose this game, and what is it like to go home if you win this game?
Yeah, it's different. When I lived in Cleveland, you know, it's complete Buckeye territory, and winning means a lot. It's bragging rights for sure. When I go home to Toledo now, where my family lives, it's kind of half and half. I get supported half the time, and people don't like me the other half of the time. So it's a nice bragging right to have for a full year.